I'm Olivia Recht. I'm 30. I am a lead clinical data manager at Merck, and I started in July 2022.
And I'm Alex Salyer. I'm 33. I am a scientist in regulatory affairs at Johnson & Johnson, and I joined in August of 2022, I believe.
So I lived actually a bunch of different places. So I was born in Connecticut. We moved to Phoenix when I was 5. And then from there, we moved to Portland when I was right before high school. And I played like all of the sports. I did like softball, volleyball, basketball. I wasn't good at them. Like I tried really hard, but I just wasn't like natural sporty person, and everyone else knows it. So I just had like the natural talent for it. When we moved to Portland, it was the first time we'd ever lived anywhere that had like a lot of water around, and I did take up sailing and I loved it. So I did actually competitive sailing for about 10 years, and that was like the only sport, if you will. It depends, some people don't, of course, people don't, that I was actually good at. So that's really it. I did that through college, and then after college I did like Orange Theory, personal training. I did like a little bit of everything, but I never really found anything that stuck until I started doing this.
So I grew up in Ohio. I was in Ohio until pretty much I finished college before I started wandering around the country. Sports-wise, growing up, I really only played golf. That was kind of the only activity I did. When I got more towards senior year of high school and into college, I got more into running and biking. So I kind of kept that going pretty much up until I joined Kanna.
So we actually have some friends that own a functional fitness gym in Baltimore, and they opened, I think 2020, like right after kind of mid-pandemic, or they opened right before, and then, they kind of were going on and on through the pandemic. We'd go visit them, we'd go to their gym, like even though, I was new to kind of that style of working out, I really enjoyed it. I like the varied movements. I like, all the different things that you could do in one workout. And I was like, God, how do we find a gym like that? And, when we lived in the city, and we also had a friend who's a fitness instructor in Philly, and we would go to some of her classes. We would just kind of like bounce around. But then when we moved out to the suburbs, I was like, okay, I want to find a gym like our friends have. So I think I just Googled functional fitness and then you can popped up. And we hadn't quite moved yet. So when I was doing base camp, I was actually still driving back and forth from Philly to here to do my base camp classes. And then I think my first class I did here, it was like 2 days before we moved out here. And I came at 5:30. I had to wake up at 4 to leave from Philly to get here on time. And then I was like, Alex, you should join too. And then he did.
Yeah, so it was actually a free trial Friday that was my first class, trying it out. I enjoyed it. I liked the varied movements because they were not something I'd ever do on my own. So I really enjoyed it and decided to join as well.
So, I looked at kind of some different gyms kind of all over the place. I liked, first of all, this gym, it has a lot of 5-star reviews, which is great. But then I actually when I read the reviews, it was you could tell people were really passionate. They really cared. They really loved the gym. They loved the environment. They loved the community. A lot of the things people mentioned is the coaches are really supportive, and so are the people. And I thought that was really important, kind of coming in, someone who hadn't really done it before, and I was feeling a little self-conscious. I was I wanted to go to a place where I felt supported, and this seemed like a good place to do it. I do remember doing my base camp. I think I did them all in July, so I remember it was super hot. People, we were over on the other side of the gym, and then people would be come over here during doing classes. People would say hi, even though I was just at base camp. I just remember being everyone's so friendly and so welcoming, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, and for me, I was actually a little bit intimidated to start out with, just because you think of functional fitness and CrossFit, and you see the videos of people moving tremendous weight, so it was a little intimidating at first, but it was really unfounded because when I came for that free trial Friday, everyone was very friendly, the coaches were really helpful, and everyone was very supportive for move the weight that you need to move. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing.
It was more, for me, it was kind of be healthy, and for me, definitely movement is a really good kind of mental health thing for me. So it's okay, I want to look for something that sticks rather than just I was really good at all of taking the dog out for a walk, but sometimes that's boring. Let's mix it up a little bit. So kind of that, it's good for your physical health, mental health, get yourself out of your head a little bit. And that was kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah, and Similar vibe for me. I always enjoyed moving and working out, so I just wanted to kind of keep that going. And since Sammy's been born, I feel like it's very important for both of us to kind of take a little bit of break and take care of ourselves.
I think when we were kind of talking about, like, we always used to come to 5:30 together. Like, every once in a while we would mix it up, but for the most part we came to 5:30 together almost every single day. So it was kind of like, okay, which one of us gets to keep 5:30? And Alex admitted to me, he's like, I actually don't like getting up that early. And I was like, oh, you don't? And he's like, no, I just want to go with you. And I was like, oh, I get up that early, so I get to keep 5:30. And so 4:45 or like wherever, he can fit it in. I actually didn't know that you waking up for fun.
No, I really don't like getting up that early.
It's just a natural, just a week. So like that's not hard. I think the biggest shift has been trying to communicate it. Like, okay, like, it's really important to me that I get my workout in today. How can we make it work? Like, what, especially now that you're back at work, it's like, do you have meetings? Like, can you feed him at 5 if he wakes up at 5? Like, do you, kind of what's going on? Or, for him, it's like, okay, if you're going to go to 4:45, then what am I going to do? And, kind of just scheduling has gotten a little more complicated, but I think
it's a lot more of a balancing act now, just figuring out who schedules what do we need to do to keep, Sammy going, the house going, and still take care of ourselves.
Yeah. I think, kind of like I said, I grew up in an athletic family as a not super athletic person, and I shocked myself at how strong I was. Like, I didn't know, because I'd been kind of doing random workouts here and there. Like, before I came here, I was working with a personal trainer, but I only worked twice a week, and I didn't do a lot outside of that, honestly. So, I coming here and, I'd never done really the Olympic weightlifting movements. So, like, doing those, realizing that I was actually pretty good at them. And then, being able to, like, build up that strength has been, like, such a confidence booster. Been like, hey, maybe there is something athletic that I'm good at. And, I think that, and then honestly, kind of some of the stuff, like my cardio fitness has gotten a lot better. Like I said, I did a ton, and I still do, like, just a ton of walking. Like, I go for a walk every day if I can with the bike and the rower, and even trying to run sometimes, not too much. My cardio fitness has just gotten a lot better as well. And I can definitely tell, like, when I'm doing things like pushing the stroller, which is so heavy, I'm like, oh, like, this isn't winding me at all. Like, I feel great. Or like, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, for me, I always focused pretty heavily on cardio, like running and biking and those kind of things. So I never really got into much with barbells or moving weights or anything like that. So I'm very surprised at, how much I enjoy doing, the Olympic movements, the cleans, the deadlifts, the snatches. And also, it's amazing to see, my progress, because, I track it and am able to actually see not gains, but gains. But, how I'm able to advance with the various movements, and with the level method, seeing me be able to do more consistent, higher workouts compared to where I started. And then it's definitely helped, around the house, being able to, I just feel more energized, better able to, take care of the chores, things like that.
Everyone's like really friendly and supportive. There aren't really, anyone. I think like the biggest worry for me kind of coming into a gym like this is like kind of the meatheads or people who are like judgy about what you're doing. And there's like none of that. I came back, obviously after having him, and it's been like a total readjustment. I feel like I'm starting kind of from scratch again. And, having people be like, hey, you're doing like a good job, like that was great. Or reminding me even like when I get frustrated, like, hey, this is a new normal for you. Like, this is just, just do what you can do. And like, you'll be able to build up from there. It's just, you're kind of readjusting to having your body without a baby in it, because it feels very different.
For me, I think it's very supportive. It's encouraging, to get cheered on by other people around. And I feel like it just brings a very good positive energy to the classes. It's definitely a very different vibe going from, working out alone or something like that to, having 13, 14 other people around you. It's kind of an electrifying environment.
So I would say, like, I was definitely one of those people that came in super intimidated. Like, I'd actually avoided group classes for a really long time just because I don't like people looking at me, which is why I started going to that back corner, and now it's just a habit, because I'm like, everyone's gonna look at me, which is, once you kind of start doing that, start like working out, you realize no one's looking at you. But I did start out feeling like, I'm like, well, if everyone's I don't want anyone to look at me, so to the back corner I go. And now I just have kind of stayed there. But I would tell people, like, really no one cares what you're doing other than you. do. And obviously, if you're doing something that could hurt yourself, like a coach will step in. Everyone is just focused on themselves and getting their workout in. They don't care what you're, like, they really don't.
I agree with that. It's definitely intimidating to start something new with all new people. Everyone here has been so welcoming. All the coaches, they greet you by name when you walk through the door. People come up and introduce themselves to you. So it was definitely very helpful just to have that kind of welcoming environment. And then during the workouts, speaking personally, I can't pay attention to what other people are doing because I'm trying to keep track of my reps. And I think that's a pretty common feeling. So yeah, this is like, there's no reason to worry about, being judged or anything like that. Everyone's just here to have fun.
For me, I just kind of want to get back to where I was before I had Sammy and then just build upon that, I have nothing really specific in mind right now. I'm just kind of focusing on, okay, let's kind of get back into the groove, get back to like where I was, back to feeling comfortable kind of in these movements that I haven't necessarily done for a while, and then kind of just building up from there.
Yeah, for me, my goal, I'd like to lose a little bit of weight because I kind of haven't taken care of myself right around the time he was born. So I kind of put on a little extra weight during that time. So my goal is really to, get back to where I was and, continue to build my strength. Yeah, it's definitely, it's much better when it's a habit coming here than a imposition. Overall, it's been a great experience being here and plan to continue for a long time.
Yeah. I would just say, like, to anyone who who's like, kind of watching, like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. It's like, you're never ready. Just start. There's just try. Just jump into a class or, jump into the base camp and just give it a try. Like, you're never going to don't try to get fit before you start. Like, I was kind of in that camp too. It was like, well, I can't do anything like that until I kind of get this baseline level of fitness. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. And that was the best thing I think I did for myself.